Welcome back to World of Immersion. Today we're going to be ranking the top 10 best theme parks in the world based on their theming. Now we're going to be talking about how a park is themed as a whole, not individual themed lands, but how the entire park is themed. I think it's awesome when parks have a very cohesive theme across the entire park while still managing to incorporate different themed lands as well. I think that's awesome. And absolutely, there are some parks that do it out there better than others, in my opinion. But like every single list that we do, everything on this list is very subjective. So be sure to comment down below how you would rank the top 10 best themed parks in the world. What's your favorite themed park? I'm curious to know if there's anything that I have not yet been to that I absolutely need to check out. So be sure to comment all of that down below. Before we start today's video though, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy seeing content like this. It shows that over 97% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button if you can, it helps out the channel a ton, or leave a like and a comment down below. With that being said though, let's get right into the video. Alright, so starting off at number 10, we have the one and only Magic Kingdom over at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Now this park has a great overall cohesive theme. It is a Disney castle park, and I feel like by now everybody knows what the themes of the castle parks are. And this is the largest of all of them in terms of popularity. This is the most popular theme park in the entire world, and it's for good reason. This park is very well themed. However, it's definitely not my favorite of the castle parks, which is why it only comes in at number 10. That being said, I do think the themed lands are very, very good. They flow decently well into each other. Adventureland is absolutely my favorite of all of them. However, I do like Liberty Square, which is the area that is kind of where Frontierland is over at Disneyland, if you know where that is. Additionally, they've got some great rides in this park, but we're not talking much about rides here. I do love when rides are very integrated into the lands though, and this park does it very well. That being said, like I said, I do think there are some other castle parks out there that do the cohesion just a little bit better, and the themed lands themselves are just slightly better, so that's why it only comes in at number 10. And coming in at number 9, just one step above, is going to be another castle park, and that is Tokyo Disneyland. Now this park is also amazing with its cohesion as being a castle park. However, I do like it slightly more than Magic Kingdom just because I think the themed lands are a little bit better, a little bit larger. I think they're done just a little bit more well. That being said, it is a very, very similar park to Magic Kingdom. In my opinion, the only really major difference is with the rides here. Outside of the rides, I do think that the theme lands are very, very comparable. However, like I said, I think it's just slightly better at Tokyo Disneyland, and that's why it comes in just one step higher. But moving on to number 8, we have yet once again another Disney castle park, and this one is going to be Disneyland Paris. Now the reason this one comes in higher is because I think the themed lands here are just a little bit better too. I think that here the cohesion between the lands is even better. I think it has the best Adventureland and absolutely I think the best Tomorrowland. I love Discoveryland. I think Discoveryland is a much better version of Tomorrowland in my opinion. That being said, in my mind, there's only so far that a castle park can go up on this list, just because I think there are some other parks in the world that do theming just a little bit better than the castle parks, a little bit more cohesive. But that being said, this is absolutely a great themed park, some great attractions, really, really great themed lands, and I love that the theming carries over into all of the lands. There's not really a bad area of this park. It also is a great Fantasyland as well. But moving on to number 7, we have the one and only Epic Universe, the newest park on this list. And I am a huge fan of the theming of this park. I think it is awesome. They wanted to include IPs, but I think they did it in the absolute best way possible by creating an entirely original story as to why the IPs are there themselves. Celestial Park is an original themed land, and is the explanation as to why the portals exist. These Celestians created and opened these portals into these different universes, and so it's different than just slapping down an IP in a random themed land and just kind of having a random transition into it. These, you have these portals, and that's how you enter these different universes. And I think that's awesome. I love when parks are able to create original storylines and explain reasoning for things. I think Epic Universe does that perfectly. I feel like it is the best possible way that you can include IPs. It's so much better in my mind than just kind of having it right next to another land. It doesn't make as much sense. Here, there is a reason for everything to be there. And it's also awesome because it's so easy for them to add a new land with a brand new portal. They've got a ton of expansion plots, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. Additionally, on top of that, it is some of the best themed lands in the world. Be sure to check out our ranking of the top 10 best themed lands. There are a bunch of Epic Universe lands on that list because they're all incredible. Once again, I am a huge fan of this park. It had to absolutely come on this list. I love Epic Universe, and I think it's one of the best themed parks in the world. But moving on to number 6, just one step above, There's another park in Orlando just down the road, and that is going to be EPCOT. Now, honestly, I used to not get this park very much. I didn't really understand the appeal. However, as I've gotten older, I have started to fall in love with this park. I think it is incredible. World Showcase alone would make this list. But that's not all of EPCOT. World Showcase is incredible. The cohesion between the different countries is awesome. Every single one is so well detailed. It does what it sets out to do perfectly. Having a park that is much more about learning and exploration rather than the rides themselves is awesome, and there's not really any other park like it on the planet. EPCOT is one of the only parks that people will go to walk around and eat instead of riding rides, and I think that's so cool. Obviously, they have added more rides as the years have gone on, and that's cool too, but the rides aren't even the reason why this park is awesome, in my opinion. World Showcase is incredible, and that's not to mention the awesome rest of the park that's also really about learning. You have the different pavilions that really kind of all teach you something. World Showcase teaches you about different cultures. The Land Pavilion teaches you about sustainable living. A bunch more of it talks about science. I think it is awesome. Obviously, stuff like Cosmic Rewind, that's its own kind of pavilion. That's not really super informative, but it does make sense. It all fits into the theme of EPCOT, which I think is awesome. EPCOT is an incredible park. It's my favorite of the Disney World parks, and in my opinion, absolutely had to be on this list. But moving on to our top 5, and honestly, it was a struggle to rank these top 5 because they are all incredible. But coming in at number 5 is a park that honestly is pretty similar to EPCOT in my opinion. However, I think it does it just slightly better, and that is Europa Park over in Germany. Now, if you've seen our top 10 theme parks of all time, you will know how I feel about this park. Spoiler alert, it is my favorite theme park in the entire world. So absolutely, it had to come in high enough on this list. But bias aside, this park is incredible. It has some incredible themed lands, all of which flow together so seamlessly. You have all the incredible countries. There are so many different countries, and they blend so well. This park is themed to European countries, and they do it perfectly. It's like EPCOT if the entire park was like World Showcase. You have food that's catered to every single country that the themed lands are in. You have rides that fit in there with dark rides, roller coasters, flat rides, everything fits in perfectly. You've got shows too. It all is so incredibly immersive. I love Europa Park. Like I said, it is like if you took Epcot's World Showcase and made it into an entire park. And I am a huge fan of World Showcase, so that's why I love Europa Park so much. But coming in at number 4, this is a classic. This is the one and only Disneyland. Once again, one of the most perfectly themed parks in the world. Now, like I said before, the castle parks I feel like are only so good as they can get. However, Disneyland is the exception. I think Disneyland is done so perfectly, and it is the original. There's something timeless about it. While I do think sometimes castle parks kind of just feel like they throw themed lands randomly, this one, they all make sense. Every single land makes sense where it is. The theming is perfect. The cohesion amongst the land is amazing. The transitions between the different lands are so well done. Adventureland and Frontierland are back to back, and you've got buildings that are double-sided to be both Adventureland and Frontierland, which is so cool to see. You don't even notice when you're transitioning into a new land. Additionally, you have beautiful lands like New Orleans Square that you can just hang around in, just enjoy the sights and sounds. The food is all very specific to every land as well. That entire left side of the park is incredible, in my opinion, with Frontierland and Adventureland and New Orleans Square all right there next to each other. They're all very cohesive next to each other. Every land feels very, very immersive. The only land, honestly, that feels a little bit out of place is Galaxy's Edge, and that's one of the most incredible themed lands in the world. So honestly, I can give it a little bit of a bye there. I don't think it's as big of a deal that's at Disneyland, just based off of the fact of how incredible Galaxy's Edge is. But outside of that, every other themed land works perfectly. It's the original Castle Park. All of it makes sense, and it's just a perfect park in my opinion. Also, one of my favorite theme parks of all time. But moving on to number 3, this is an interesting one. We've got Phantasialand. This park is just absolutely incredible. It completely blew my mind. I knew this park had cool theming, but I don't think I realized the extent of it. This has some of the most immersive themed lands I have ever witnessed in my life. And like Disneyland, the transitions between the lands are so perfect. Every single themed land is detailed so well. And this park has the weirdest elevation changes of all time, but it works so perfectly for the land. The park itself is not very big, however, it can take forever to explore all of it because there are tons of places where you'll go up and down stairs, and there are so many different ways to go about a land. It's kind of hard to explain, but there'll be points where you are like really 100 feet above where the other parts of the path are or below because of just how crazy the elevation changes are in the land. Everything is very, very tall. The walls in every land are huge, so every land you're in is very, very immersive. And like I said, the transitions between the lands are also incredible as well. There's honestly not a single part of this park that is not beautifully themed. Everything is very, very cohesive, all down to the smallest details. These lands are absolutely incredible. They don't get talked about enough. This park doesn't get talked about enough. It's an incredible theme park. They do theming so, so well. And honestly, you could spend an entire day just exploring the park and exploring its theming. I wish I had a second day at Phantasialand. It's just such a great park, and I highly recommend going out there and checking it out. But moving on to our top two, and honestly, I feel like a lot of people have these same top two as the best theme parks in the world in terms of themed lands and theming. However, it's really a question of how you rank the two. And for me, coming in at number 2 is going to be the one and only Disney's Animal Kingdom. This is one of the parks that is so perfectly cohesive that it honestly doesn't even feel like a theme park anymore. You feel like you've transported into an entirely different land. Every single land is very centered around nature and animals, and it's done so well. This park honestly doesn't have the strongest ride lineup, but it makes up for it with the fact that these themed lands are just so incredible to walk around. Honestly, I remember everybody feeling very iffy when they're adding Pandora, the world of Avatar, to this park. People were always saying that an IP wouldn't really fit very well. However, it fits perfectly. They did it in the best possible way they could. Pandora is such a naturally beautiful landscape, and they did it so well that it fits perfectly into the park. The theming in all of these lands is so great, and it all flows so well. You really do feel like you're in a different place. It's just so hard to explain. You have to go out and visit Animal Kingdom. It's a beautiful park. My only issue with it is that I wish they're opening at night, because this park would be an incredible park to experience at night. I cannot wait to see what they do next. I know the new land is coming soon with a bunch of IPs, but I'm sure that they're going to do it great, just like they did with Pandora. However, that being said, it is not my number 1, because that honor goes to the one and only Tokyo DisneySea. This is by far the best themed park in the world for me. Ride lineup aside, which by the way has one of the coolest ride lineups of all time, this park is just so incredibly themed. Every single land is perfect, and they all flow and fit together in perfect unison. The whole park is centered around the ocean and the sea, and every land has different aspects of that all combined, and the lands do it so perfectly. Any single one of these lands could be the best land in any other theme park, but they're all together in this one, and they fit so perfectly together. Every area you look is just perfect. It is an incredibly picturesque theme park. Everything about it is just amazing. I could go on and talk about DisneySea forever, but I'm sure you know how I feel about this park if you've watched my top 10 theme parks, so I'm not going to talk for too crazy long, but I just want to say that this is absolutely the best themed park in my opinion. In terms of theming, I see zero flaws with this park. Absolutely, you need to go out and experience it if you haven't already. It is such an incredible park, absolutely one of a kind. But that's going to do it for our ranking of the top 10 best themed parks in the entire world. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to comment that down below. Give this video a like and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it. That's going to do it for our video today though. Thank you so much for watching World of Immersion, and we'll catch you in the next video.